We must act now.
The starship
shadows
Aurora
are
drifted
gathering,
slowly
and our
toward the
time is
glowing
running
world
low.
of Lumira. From space, Lumira looked like a pearl covered in soft blue and silver light. Daniel Hale stood near the observation window and watched the planet growing larger. He had traveled across many systems as a human diplomat, but this mission felt different. Reports said that Lumira was one of the most peaceful worlds known, and its people were gentle energy-based lifeforms with graceful human-like shapes. Daniel felt excited and a little nervous. He had studied their customs for weeks, but meeting them face to face was something new. The ship landed on a smooth platform that looked like it was made of living crystal. The crystals responded to the presence of the ship and shifted into patterns that guided the path forward. Daniel stepped out along with a small team, but he was the main representative. A group of Lumirans waited ahead. They looked almost human, but their skin shimmered like soft light moving underwater. Their eyes carried calm understanding and their steps were silent. One of them moved toward Daniel. She had silver-white markings across her cheeks that changed shape when she breathed. Her presence felt peaceful and steady. She introduced herself in a tone that sounded like glowing wind. "I am Ceres of the Inner Grove. Welcome to Lumira." Daniel bowed slightly. His voice was steady, but he felt her observant gaze as if she could read the intention behind his words. "Thank you for receiving us. I am honored to meet you." Ceres guided them through a wide hall made of smooth stone that shifted colors with every step. The hall opened to a large garden under a transparent dome. Plants glowed softly and the air felt fresh and warm. Ceres explained that Lumirans lived close to nature and their structures worked together with the planet rather than against it. Daniel listened with interest. He noticed Ceres watching him at times. Her expression was calm, but he felt she was studying him carefully. When the group reached the center of the garden, she spoke again. "The council wishes to speak with you tomorrow. For today I will show you our world so you can understand our ways." Daniel nodded and the others stayed behind with the ship crew. Ceres motioned Daniel to walk with her on a long path that curved around a fountain made of floating water rings. The fountain moved without any visible machinery. Each ring shifted gently and reflected light like a moving mirror. Daniel could not help staring at it with wonder. "Lumiran technology is alive in a sense," Ceres said. "We shape it with our energy fields. It responds to emotion as much as intention." Daniel smiled softly. "That is incredible. Humans use machines. You use harmony. It is beautiful." Ceres observed him for a moment. Daniel felt a warmth in her gaze but also a caution. The path led them to a small bridge where flowing lights moved under the surface like gentle waves. They stopped there to rest. "Your emotions carry strong patterns," Ceres said quietly. "Humans feel deeply and often without control. It makes your presence shine brighter than you know." Daniel gave a small laugh. "I am not used to being told I shine." Ceres looked away for a moment. "My people are sensitive to emotional energy. When humans stand close to us, we can feel your inner state like a soft pressure. It is not harmful, but it can be intense." Daniel became thoughtful. "Then I should be careful." Ceres nodded. "It is kind of you to say so." They walked again. The path brought them into a field of tall plants that glowed soft blue at the tips. When the wind moved through them, they produced a gentle singing sound. Daniel listened as the air filled with a natural melody. "Your world feels like a dream," he said. "To us Lumira is simply home," Ceres replied. "Your world would feel just as unusual to us. Every star shapes its children in its own way." Daniel admired her calm voice. She spoke like someone who carried wisdom but also gentle curiosity. When they reached a shaded area under a wide crystal tree, they stopped to talk more. Daniel asked her many questions about her people. How they lived. How they grew. How they learned. Ceres answered each question patiently. She seemed pleased by his genuine interest. When he spoke, she listened with quiet focus. After a while, Ceres asked him about Earth. Daniel described oceans and forests and busy cities. Saris seemed fascinated by the idea of humans building tall structures from solid material. Your world sounds full of movement, she said. Humans chase many goals. Lumorans prefer balance. Both paths hold meaning in their own way. Daniel nodded. I agree. There is no single right way to live. There are only different ways to grow. Saris looked at him with new interest. You speak with thoughtful clarity. Many visitors rush through understanding. You take time to listen. Daniel shrugged lightly. I want to understand others. That is why I became a diplomat. Saris lowered her gaze for a moment. Her markings shifted into a gentle pattern that meant admiration in her culture. Daniel had read about these markings, but seeing them in front of him felt different. It felt personal. When the sun began to set, the sky turned into soft purple and gold. Lumora had two small moons that rose slowly above the horizon. They reflected the sunlight into shimmering ribbons across the fields. Daniel stopped to stare at the sight. He felt peaceful in a way he had not experienced in a long time. Saris watched him quietly. You find comfort in our sky. It is beautiful, Daniel replied. I cannot imagine ever getting tired of this view. Saris touched the crystal tree beside her. Its branches released a soft glow that warmed the air around them. For a moment they stood close enough that Daniel could feel a gentle warmth on his skin. Saris turned to him again. Her eyes held something deeper this time. A quiet seriousness. Daniel. There is something I must tell you before we continue our mission. Daniel looked at her with full attention. Yes. Please tell me. Saris took a slow breath. Her markings dimmed then brightened as she formed her words. Lumorans express strong emotion through their energy fields. When our feelings rise, our aura changes shape and intensity. If someone touches us during an emotional surge, the energy can transfer. For other Lumorans it is normal. For a human it can be overwhelming. Daniel listened closely. He did not interrupt. Saris continued in a softer tone. Humans are strong in many ways, but your body cannot always manage our energy. A simple gesture at the wrong moment can feel like too much brightness. It can shake your senses. It can feel like your life is fading even though no real harm is meant. Daniel understood what she was trying to explain. So you are telling me physical closeness can be dangerous? Saris nodded slowly. Yes. Especially contact that carries deep emotion. Daniel stepped a little closer but stayed respectful. What kind of contact do you mean? Saris looked down. Her voice became quiet. A kiss. That is one of the strongest forms of emotional contact among my people. If I were to kiss a human, my aura might react with full intensity. It might overwhelm you. It might feel like it is taking your breath. Some may even faint. I do not wish to cause you discomfort. Daniel felt no fear. Instead he felt a strange calm confidence. He admired that she cared enough to warn him so honestly. Thank you for telling me, he said. I understand why you protect others. It shows your kindness. Saris looked surprised by his response. Most visitors grow nervous when I explain this. You remain steady. Daniel smiled softly. I trust your intention. That matters more than anything. Saris studied him again with a quiet expression. Her markings shifted into a soft blue pattern that showed mixed emotion. Trust. Surprise. Concern. Something new. Daniel lifted his hand but did not touch her. He simply placed it near hers, showing respect and closeness without crossing boundaries. I appreciate your warning, Saris. But please do not worry too much. I am not afraid of understanding your world. I am here to learn. Saris felt something warm move through her aura. She stepped back slightly as if trying to control her emotions. Her voice remained calm, but he sensed a hidden tremor. Please, Daniel. Be careful. If you ever act on a moment of strong feeling. If you ever think of kissing me. It could be dangerous for you. I would not want you to suffer even for a second. Daniel did not push the moment. He nodded gently. I hear you. And I respect your concern. The two stood in silence under the glowing sky. A soft breeze moved through the crystal leaves above them. The world around them shimmered with calm beauty. Daniel felt something growing between them. A slow connection. Not rushed. Not forced. Simply natural. The kind that surprised both people involved. When they began walking back toward the docking platform, the sky had turned into quiet night. Lumra's moons lit the path. Ceres walked beside him, but her steps carried a new tension. She had shared something important. Something personal. Daniel respected the weight of her words. As they approached the ship, Ceres stopped once more. Daniel. Remember what I said. If you ever kiss me, the energy may overwhelm you. It could feel like it is ending your strength. I do not want that for you. Daniel met her eyes with calm confidence. Thank you, Ceres. Your honesty means more than you know. Ceres nodded and stepped back as the ship lights reflected off her shimmering skin. Daniel watched her in silence. He felt her warning echo in his mind. He knew she spoke from concern, not fear. And he also knew that their connection had just begun. The night air of Lumra felt warm against his skin. Daniel understood that this mission would change him in ways he could not yet imagine. Tomorrow the council would meet him. But it was Ceres who had already opened the path to something deeper. A warning spoken with care. A connection neither of them expected. And a future that waited quietly beneath Lumra's glowing sky. The next morning, the soft light of Lumra's twin moons faded into gentle sunlight. Daniel woke to the quiet hum of the Aurora's docking bay. The walls of the ship reflected the subtle colors of the planet outside. He could feel a calm energy from the planet seeping into his thoughts. Today, the council would meet him. He felt ready, but also curious about Ceres. Their walk last night had left an impression that he could not forget. Daniel prepared himself and stepped out onto the crystalline path that led toward the council hall. Ceres was waiting there. Her skin shimmered softly in the morning light, the patterns on her face shifting gently like ripples in water. She nodded at him, her expression calm but watchful. Daniel smiled and gave a respectful bow. Good morning, Ceres. I hope the day treats you kindly. She inclined her head slightly. Good morning, Daniel. Lumra is welcoming as always. I hope you sleep well. Daniel nodded. I did. Thank you. The path they walked together was lined with glowing flora, each plant responding to their presence with subtle pulses of light. As they moved, Daniel felt the energy around Ceres, faint but perceptible. He remembered her warning from last night, yet he also felt trust. She would not let harm come to him. That knowledge made him more comfortable, even curious. Before entering the council hall, Ceres spoke in a low voice. Daniel, today may be long. The council wishes to know your intentions and your hopes. I will be at your side, but you must answer with your own words. Daniel smiled. I understand. I will do my best. Inside the hall, the council waited. They were taller than Ceres, with broader patterns of energy across their skin. Their faces were serene, but their eyes carried sharp awareness. Daniel greeted them respectfully. The council returned his greeting with calm nods. Their presence felt powerful, not aggressive, simply commanding attention. Daniel spoke clearly about humanity's desire to learn, to understand, and to work in harmony with other worlds. He emphasized peace, cooperation, and mutual growth. The council listened without interruption. Daniel noticed that every now and then their gaze shifted toward Ceres. She stood close to him, her aura flowing quietly, a soft light surrounding her. When he finished, a council member spoke. Your words show thoughtfulness. You understand caution and care. But understanding is different from feeling. The council will observe your connection to Ceres. We must see if humans can truly walk among our people without causing imbalance. Daniel nodded. I understand. Observation is wise. The observation began immediately. Daniel and Ceres walked through the council's gardens. Every movement, every word, every gesture was watched carefully. Daniel felt no pressure, only the quiet expectation that he remain himself. Ceres moved beside him with natural grace. Sometimes their hands brushed slightly, and Daniel felt a subtle warmth. It was nothing alarming, yet it was unlike anything he had experienced. He realized that L'Amoran energy was not just light and color. It was a living expression, a form of communication beyond words. During their walk, Daniel and Ceres began talking about small things. Daniel asked about the music of Lumra. Ceres explained that each plant, each crystal, could produce a unique tone. The music of the planet was not just sound, but feeling. It could calm anger, ease fear, and strengthen courage. Humans had music, but Lumrans had energy that became music. Daniel listened closely. I have never heard anything like that. It must be beautiful to live among it every day. It is, Ceres said softly. But it can also be overwhelming to outsiders. Many humans leave quickly because they cannot manage the sensations. You, however, remain calm. That is rare. Daniel smiled. I think I am learning to manage it with your help. Ceres looked at him, a soft shimmer traveling across her markings. Daniel noticed that she did not just speak, she communicated emotion with her energy. He began to realize that her warnings were not only about danger. They were about respect and care. She was protecting him, but she was also testing whether he could truly understand her people. The day passed in a series of lessons and small tasks. Daniel learned to move with the energy of the land, to touch the plants without disturbing their resonance, to speak with the soft tones that harmonized with L'Amoran music. Ceres guided him patiently, correcting his posture, his gestures, his voice. Each time, Daniel felt a growing bond with her. It was not rush or desire. It was trust, understanding, and mutual curiosity. During a pause, they sat beside a crystal stream that flowed without boundaries, water and light mingling seamlessly. Daniel looked at Ceres. You make this learning feel natural, not forced. It is easier than I imagined. Ceres looked at him calmly. That is good. I hoped it would be easy. Humans often struggle to accept that not all strength is physical. Some strength comes from quiet attention, from patience, from the ability to understand. Daniel nodded. I can see that now. Your world feels alive because you feel it in ways we cannot. It is more than seeing and hearing. It is sensing. It is connection. Ceres's markings shifted, a soft blue glow that indicated appreciation. She was beginning to trust him more, to recognize that his intentions were sincere. She was careful not to cross boundaries, but Daniel sensed that she allowed him closer than she usually allowed others. The energy between them was subtle, but it carried meaning. He felt it like a pulse of warmth that followed every step, every glance. As the afternoon sun moved across the sky, Daniel noticed that their conversation became more personal. Ceres spoke of her childhood among the L'Amoran forests, of learning to control energy, of moments of wonder at the skies. Daniel shared stories of earth, of oceans and mountains, of small quiet moments he cherished. They laughed softly at differences in culture, marveled at similarities in feeling. Then, in a quiet moment, Ceres stopped walking. She looked at him with a serious expression. Daniel, she said softly, there is something I must remind you. Our energy is strong. Humans are resilient but fragile in certain ways. When closeness grows, the risk also grows. You must remember what I told you yesterday. Daniel looked at her calmly. I remember. I am careful. And I trust you. Saris's markings shifted again, showing mixed emotion. There was relief, and perhaps a small hint of curiosity. You are brave, Daniel. But bravery is not always wisdom. You must continue to respect our boundaries. Daniel smiled gently. Respect is part of learning. I will not forget. The sun dipped low, casting soft golden light across the fields. Daniel and Saris walked along a narrow bridge that spanned a reflective pool. The water shimmered like liquid glass. Daniel felt a sense of peace. He knew that he could not rush what was happening between them. The energy was delicate, their bond growing slowly. Saris moved beside him, her shoulder almost brushing his. It was accidental but intentional at the same time. Daniel felt the faint warmth, the subtle rhythm of her energy. It was mesmerizing. He understood now what she meant by warning him. The energy was strong, almost overwhelming, but it was also beautiful, calming, and alive. To experience it was a privilege, not a risk. They stopped at the end of the bridge. Saris looked at him quietly. I do not often allow others to come this close, Daniel. You must understand that. I do, he said sincerely. And I appreciate it. I feel honored that you trust me. Her gaze softened. You are patient and careful. That matters more than most who visit our world. It shows that humans can grow beyond the limits of their own nature when they open their minds. Daniel realized that this was more than a compliment. It was a recognition that he, as a human, could bridge worlds in ways that many others could not. He felt a surge of pride, tempered by humility. He was here to learn, but he was also here to show that humans could connect with life in ways Lumorans thought impossible. The evening air turned cool, and soft lights emerged from the plants around them. Lumora was preparing for night. The energy of the world shifted subtly. Daniel noticed that Saris seemed slightly tense, as if she felt the growing connection as strongly as he did. Before they returned to the ship, she spoke again. Daniel, remember that our bond is special. It is rare for a human to connect in this way. I do not warn lightly. If closeness grows too quickly, it could overwhelm you. But for now, I sense balance. That is fortunate. Daniel smiled warmly. I will remember. And I will continue to move carefully, with respect. You need not fear. Saris studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Your words carry weight. That is rare. Most humans rush without listening. You do not. That is a good sign. They walked back in silence, each step a gentle harmony of energy and presence. Daniel felt that the bond between them had deepened. It was quiet, subtle, but undeniable. It was trust, understanding, and curiosity combined. He sensed that Saris felt the same way. Neither of them spoke of feelings too deeply. That was not necessary. The connection existed beyond words. It moved with the rhythm of the planet, like a melody that was unspoken but deeply understood. When they reached the ship, Daniel turned to Saris. Thank you for guiding me today. I learned much more than I expected. Saris inclined her head. You listened well. That is why learning was possible. Others would not have understood the lessons as you did. Daniel smiled. I will continue to listen. Always. Saris looked at him one last time before stepping back. The quiet intensity of her gaze stayed with him. Daniel knew that tomorrow would bring more challenges, more lessons, and perhaps the next stage of their connection. But for now, he felt that something meaningful had begun. Something that could grow slowly, carefully, and safely. Under Lumora's twin moons, Daniel reflected on the day. He understood the importance of patience, trust, and respect. He also understood that his bond with Saris was unique. It was more than friendship. It was a living connection, a bridge between human and Lumoran understanding. And he was ready to see where it would lead. The following day, the sun rose gently over Lumra, casting soft gold light across the crystalline fields. Daniel woke early, full of anticipation and curiosity. He could feel the energy of the planet even before stepping outside. The air shimmered with faint pulses, and the soft music of the flora reached his ears like a quiet, welcoming melody. Today he would spend more time with Ceres, and he sensed that their bond was ready to move in ways that had not happened before. When he reached the garden, Ceres was already there. Her presence seemed to merge naturally with the morning light. She walked slowly along a path lined with glowing crystal plants, each step releasing a soft chime. Her energy aura shimmered faintly, calm but full of subtle tension. Daniel approached carefully, remembering her warnings from the night before. "Good morning, Ceres," he said. "The planet looks wonderful today." She turned her gaze toward him. "Good morning, Daniel. It always looks wonderful. But the view changes depending on the observer. You see with your mind as well as your eyes. You are attentive. That is good." Daniel smiled. "I try to understand what I can. Today, I hope to learn even more." Ceres nodded and gestured for him to follow. They moved together along the path toward the central garden, a space where glowing streams crossed over soft bridges. The garden had been arranged to harmonize with the natural energy currents of the planet. Every plant and crystal responded to the emotions of those who entered, but Daniel felt a unique balance. The presence of Ceres next to him created a subtle resonance that felt calming and energizing at the same time. As they walked, Ceres began to speak softly about the history of Lumra. Her voice carried gentle musical tones, and her energy rippled slightly with each word. Daniel listened closely, feeling more than hearing. He sensed the depth of her thoughts, the care she had for her people, and the strength of her self-control. Humans often struggle to maintain calm when confronted with such intensity, but Daniel felt steady. He had learned patience, and that patience was rewarded with understanding. After a while, they reached a quiet place beside a crystalline lake. The water reflected the sky above in shifting patterns, creating an almost living tapestry of colors. Daniel knelt to touch the water, feeling its energy resonate through his hands. It was warm and calming, but also tingling with an unfamiliar sensation. Ceres knelt beside him, careful not to invade his personal space, but her aura brushed lightly against his. Daniel felt a surge of connection. It was not frightening, but it was stronger than anything he had felt before. Daniel looked at her. "Ceres, I feel different when I am near you. Your presence it is like the planet itself is speaking." Ceres turned her gaze toward him, her markings shifting slowly in soft blue waves. "You feel the balance because you allow it. Many humans would feel overwhelmed. Some would retreat. But you remain steady. That is rare, Daniel. That is why I can allow closeness. But remember my warning. One wrong step can feel too much. A single gesture may carry energy you are not ready to receive." Daniel nodded. "I understand. I trust your judgment. And I will be careful." They stayed there for some time in quiet observation. Daniel watched the water shimmer with light, and Ceres watched him with a thoughtful gaze. The energy between them seemed to deepen naturally, as though the planet itself was acknowledging their connection. There was no rush, no expectation, only mutual awareness and growing trust. As the sun moved higher, the light created patterns across the water that seemed to dance in time with their breathing. Daniel felt compelled to move slightly closer to Ceres, not to intrude, but to share the space with her fully. She did not step back. Her energy remained calm but tinged with subtle caution. Daniel felt that she was allowing him to approach, testing his respect for her and her world. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other, absorbing the quiet beauty of the place. Then Daniel spoke, his voice soft but steady. "Ceres, I know your warning. I feel it. But I also feel trust. I feel connection. If I reach out, I will do so with care, with respect. Saris's markings shifted to a pattern of pale green and soft blue, showing a mix of caution and curiosity. You must be careful, Daniel. My energy is strong. Humans are resilient in many ways, but this connection may feel intense. Are you certain you wish to continue? Daniel nodded. I am certain. I trust you. Saris studied him for a moment, her gaze deep and focused. Then she took a small step closer, reducing the space between them. The energy around her seemed to shimmer and pulse gently, signaling awareness, but not aggression. Daniel could feel the subtle flow of her aura brushing against his, sending faint tingles through his body. He felt a thrilling sense of anticipation, tempered by deep respect. Daniel took a slow breath and closed the small gap between them. He reached up gently, resting his hand lightly near hers. Saris did not pull away. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, allowing a connection to form. Their gazes met fully. Daniel felt a wave of emotion, not dangerous, but powerful and warm. Then, carefully and deliberately, Daniel leaned in and kissed her lightly. Immediately, a surge of energy flowed through him. It was not pain or fear, but a rush of warmth, brightness, and connection that made his chest tingle. The sensation was intense, but not harmful. Daniel felt as though his mind and heart were expanding. He could sense Saris's thoughts and emotions clearly. He felt her care, her caution, her curiosity, and her growing trust. It was overwhelming, but in a wonderful way. Saris pulled back slightly, her eyes wide with surprise. Her markings shimmered and shifted rapidly, showing a mix of astonishment and delight. Daniel remained steady, breathing calmly, letting the energy wash through him rather than resist it. He had trusted her warning, but he had also trusted himself. That trust had created a balance neither of them expected. For several long moments, they simply stood close, connected by energy and understanding. The sun reflected across the lake, creating sparkling patterns around them, but neither noticed the world outside. They were absorbed in the resonance between them. Finally, Saris spoke softly. Daniel, I did not think a human could manage the energy like this. You are extraordinary. Daniel smiled gently, still holding the connection. It is because of you, Saris. You guided me. You trusted me. And I trusted you. Her markings shifted to soft green and blue, calm now. This bond, it is unlike anything I have experienced. It is not dangerous now. It is harmony. Daniel nodded. Harmony is exactly what I feel. It is quiet, but powerful. They stayed there for a while, letting the energy flow naturally between them. The experience had transformed the initial warning into understanding. The potential for harm had turned into a shared gift. Daniel realized that their bond was not only possible but unique. Humans could connect with Lumorans in ways that others had thought impossible. After some time, they moved back toward the central garden. The sun was lower in the sky, casting long, gentle shadows across the fields. Daniel and Saris walked side by side, careful but fully aware of the bond that had formed. There was no rush. They did not speak much. Words were unnecessary. The energy between them communicated everything they needed. As they approached the ship, Saris looked at him with a gentle smile. Daniel, she said softly, today you proved that trust and patience can create something extraordinary. Few humans could have done what you did. Daniel smiled back. I only followed your guidance, Saris. You showed me the way. Her gaze softened, showing admiration and warmth. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new understanding, she said. Between humans and Lumorans, there is potential for much more than anyone imagined. Daniel felt a quiet joy. He had never felt closer to another being in his life. The kiss had not been reckless. It had been a step forward, a moment of trust, a bridge between their worlds. The moons of Lumra began to rise, casting silver light over the fields. The energy of the planet pulsed gently around them, as if acknowledging their connection. Daniel understood that this bond was rare, special, and full of promise. As the day ended, Daniel and Ceres stood together at the edge of the garden. There was no need for words. Their bond spoke louder than any explanation. Both knew that this connection would guide the next steps of their journey, creating trust and harmony that could change not only their lives but the relationship between humans and Lumorans forever. The planet's light shimmered softly on their faces. Daniel held a quiet hope in his heart. This was only the beginning. The morning sun rose over Lumra with a gentle glow, bathing the crystalline gardens in soft gold and silver light. Daniel Hale woke with a calm energy flowing through him. He remembered yesterday's experience with Ceres, the kiss that had created an unexpected harmony between them. That moment had changed everything. He could feel the connection still resonating within him. It was subtle but powerful, like a quiet current that pulsed with trust and understanding. Today, the council would meet him again, and he sensed that the events of yesterday would be more than a personal experience. They might have larger consequences for both humans and Lumorans. Daniel arrived at the council hall early, accompanied by Ceres. She moved gracefully beside him, her aura shifting softly in colors that mirrored her emotions, curiosity, caution, and quiet approval. Daniel had learned to read these signals. They spoke volumes without words. Together, they approached the entrance, where the taller Lumaran council members awaited them. Their presence was serene but commanding, the flowing energy of their auras shaping the space around them. "Welcome, Daniel," the eldest council member said, his voice calm and deep. "We have observed your bond with Ceres. It is unusual, remarkable, and we wish to understand it better." Daniel nodded respectfully. "I am honored to be observed. I will answer any questions and demonstrate respect for your ways." The council led them into the central chamber. The room was vast, with walls of crystal that shifted with the light, displaying patterns of energy that responded to the presence of living beings. Daniel could sense the subtle vibrations in the air, the delicate interplay of energies from the council members. Ceres moved beside him, her calm energy blending with his own. Together, they approached the center of the room. One of the council members spoke. "Daniel, your interaction with Ceres is not like other humans. Our people have long believed that a human could not withstand the intensity of a Lumaran bond without being overwhelmed. Yet you stand here, calm, balanced, and in harmony. This is extraordinary." Daniel took a deep breath. "I only followed Ceres's guidance and trusted her. She warned me carefully. I listened and moved with respect. That is all I have done." The council observed closely, their eyes reflecting curiosity and cautious approval. Another member stepped forward. "We have analyzed your energy resonance. The connection you share with Ceres is unique. It is not simply emotional. It is a fusion of intention, respect, and empathy. Few humans have achieved this. It is a bond that could open possibilities for understanding between our species." Ceres stepped forward slightly. "Council members," Daniel approached this carefully. He did not rush, he did not force contact. He moved with awareness. That allowed our energy to harmonize rather than clash. The eldest council member nodded. "You speak wisely, Ceres. Humans have potential for growth beyond their own comprehension. This bond demonstrates that." Daniel felt a mixture of pride and humility. He realized that this was bigger than personal connection. Their bond could serve as a bridge, showing Lumorans that humans could be more than observers. Humans could engage with their world in harmony, respecting the delicate currents of energy that governed Lumaran life. The council guided them to a smaller chamber where Ceres and Daniel could demonstrate their bond under careful observation. The walls responded to their presence, amplifying the subtle energy that flowed between them. Daniel focused, feeling the connection as he had yesterday, letting it expand naturally without forcing it. Ceres mirrored his movements, her energy flowing with his, creating a pattern of light and color that shifted gently across the chamber. One of the council members spoke softly. "This is extraordinary. Observe how Daniel does not resist. Observe how Ceres does not restrain. The balance is perfect. This harmony is proof that humans can connect with our people in ways we thought impossible." Daniel looked at Ceres. Her eyes were calm but filled with warmth. "We did it," he whispered silently. "Together, we created balance." Ceres nodded subtly. "Together, Daniel. The energy between us is not only safe, it is meaningful." The council members communicated silently for a moment, their energies pulsing in patterns that Daniel could perceive faintly. Finally, the eldest spoke again. "Daniel, Ceres, your bond is an example for both your species and ours. It shows that connection, respect, and careful attention can create something extraordinary. Humans are capable of more than we assumed. We must consider how this discovery can guide the future." Ceres's markings shifted into a soft green pattern, signaling pride and approval. "Daniel," she said quietly, "the council is recognizing what we already felt. Our connection is rare, and it matters." Daniel smiled. "I understand. It matters because it shows trust, understanding, and respect. That is the same everywhere." The council motioned for them to continue walking through the gardens, where the energy fields of Lumra responded to their presence. Daniel and Ceres moved together in harmony, careful not to disrupt the delicate flows of the environment. As they walked, Daniel could feel the council observing the subtle balance between them. Each gesture, each glance, each movement reinforced the connection that had begun with a single act of trust. One council member spoke. "We wish to explore the potential of this bond further. If humans and Lumrans can create harmony in this way, there may be opportunities for cooperation in many fields. Knowledge exchange, shared exploration, cultural understanding, these could all benefit from such connections." Daniel felt a surge of hope. That was why he had come. To learn, to understand, to create bridges where none existed. Ceres's presence made it possible. Without her guidance, he would never have achieved this harmony. Ceres looked at him, a soft glow of pride in her eyes. "Daniel," she said, "your actions show that humans can embody patience, respect, and empathy. These are qualities that will allow our peoples to work together. Your example may inspire others." Daniel nodded. "I will do my best to continue this path. Together, we can show what is possible." The council led them to a space where they could practice communication without words. Daniel and Ceres stood facing each other, letting their energy fields interact naturally. Daniel felt the resonance flow smoothly, amplifying their understanding of each other. Ceres's aura shimmered gently, and Daniel matched her rhythm with his own steady energy. Together, they created a pattern that was not just beautiful, but meaningful. A council member observed closely. "This is more than a demonstration. This is proof. It shows that human awareness, when combined with respect and patience, can harmonize with Lumran energy. Others must learn this example. It is rare and valuable." Daniel understood that the implications were larger than he had imagined. This bond was not merely a personal achievement. It was a sign that humans could interact with Lumrans in ways that were previously considered impossible. Cooperation, trust, and understanding were not abstract ideas, they were tangible, measurable, and achievable through patience and care. Ceres spoke softly to him. "Daniel, our connection shows that your species is capable of more than we believed. You did not rush. You did not impose. You simply listened, learned, and moved with respect. That is why we are able to share this moment." Daniel smiled warmly. "And I could not have done it without you, Ceres. You guided me, you warned me, and you trusted me. That trust made all the difference." The council members communicated silently again, their energies pulsing in acknowledgement. Finally, the eldest spoke. "Daniel, Ceres, we will record this bond. It will serve as a model for future interactions. Humans have potential beyond what we assumed. Through careful guidance, trust, and patience, they can achieve harmony with Lamaran life. Ceres's markings shifted into a pattern of gentle gold and green, showing deep approval. Daniel, she whispered, this is only the beginning. Our bond will guide more than ourselves. It will guide understanding between worlds. Daniel felt a quiet excitement. That was why he had come, to learn, to connect, and to prove that humans could engage meaningfully with other life. The kiss, the shared trust, and the careful attention had created more than a personal moment. It had opened possibilities for the future. As the sun began to set, casting long silver and gold reflections across the gardens, Daniel and Ceres walked together back toward the central chamber. They felt the energy around them pulsing in harmony. The council watched with calm satisfaction. What had begun as a simple act of connection had grown into a revelation, a demonstration of human capability and potential. Daniel understood fully now. His presence on Lumra was no longer just diplomatic. It was symbolic. The harmony he shared with Ceres was proof that humans could rise to meet the challenge of understanding and cooperating with another world. Ceres looked at him, her gaze calm and steady. Daniel, she said, the council recognizes our bond. But more importantly, so do we. It is rare, it is precious, and it is a foundation for what comes next. Daniel smiled. Together, we will explore that foundation. We will see where it leads, and we will do so with care, respect, and trust. As the twin moons rose over Lumra, casting silver light across the crystalline gardens, Daniel felt a quiet sense of purpose. He knew the path ahead would be full of challenges, but also full of possibility. The revelation of their bond had changed everything. It had shown humans and Lumarans alike what could be achieved when patience, trust, and respect were combined. Daniel and Ceres walked side by side, their energy flowing together in quiet harmony. The future was uncertain, but it was bright. Together, they had created something extraordinary. Together, they would guide understanding between worlds. And under the soft light of Lumra, both human and Lamaran felt hope and possibility for the first time. The following morning, the light of Lumra spread gently over the crystalline fields, bathing the gardens in soft gold and silver. Daniel Hale rose early, his mind calm yet energized by the experiences of the previous days. The bond he had formed with Ceres was no longer just a personal connection, it had become a symbol of hope and possibility. Today, the council had planned to formally recognize the significance of their connection and discuss the next steps for human-Lamaran cooperation. Daniel arrived at the central chamber, accompanied by Ceres. Her aura shimmered softly, a blend of calm blue and gentle green, reflecting her emotions, trust, pride, and quiet anticipation. As they entered, the council members were already waiting, their presence commanding attention without force. Each of their energy fields pulsed subtly, acknowledging the harmony Daniel and Ceres carried with them. "Welcome, Daniel," the eldest council member said, his voice calm and resonant. "We have observed the bond you share with Ceres over several cycles. It is extraordinary. It demonstrates that humans are capable of understanding, patience, and harmony beyond what we previously believed. Today, we recognize your connection and the potential it represents." Daniel bowed respectfully. "Thank you. I am honored." Ceres moved beside him, her presence steady and reassuring. She did not speak but her aura communicated quiet support. Together, they approached the center of the chamber, where a soft pool of light reflected the patterns of their energy. The council member continued. "Your bond is unique, and it is a bridge. Humans can learn to engage with Lamaran life in harmony. You have shown that connection, respect, and patience are not merely human ideals, they can be demonstrated and experienced in practice." Daniel felt a sense of responsibility. He realized that their bond was more than personal. It was a foundation for understanding, a living example of cooperation between species. He turned slightly toward Ceres. "We could not have achieved this without each other," he said. You guided me, you warned me, and you trusted me. That trust created the balance that allowed us to succeed. Ceres looked at him with a calm glow in her eyes. Together, Daniel. The bond is ours, but its significance extends beyond us. It is a bridge between worlds. The council nodded in agreement. We will now discuss the implications. Humans have come to Lumra with curiosity, but without proper guidance, many would have failed to understand our ways. Your success demonstrates that careful observation, respect, and emotional awareness are essential for meaningful cooperation. Daniel listened carefully. He understood that the council was considering how to use this example to guide future interactions. He felt a quiet determination to help others learn what he had learned. One of the council members continued. Ceres and Daniel, your bond has inspired the council to consider a new initiative. Humans and Lumrans will be encouraged to form partnerships based on mutual trust and harmony. This is the first step toward a broader exchange of knowledge, culture, and technology. Daniel's heart lifted. That was why he had come, to create bridges, to foster understanding. The bond he shared with Ceres was no longer just a personal achievement. It could guide the future of interstellar cooperation. Ceres turned to him, her aura shimmering softly. Daniel, this is a great responsibility. We must continue to move carefully. But we can also be proud. We have demonstrated that humans can harmonize with Lumrans, and that is rare. Daniel nodded. I understand. And I will continue to act with care, respect, and attention. Together, we can guide the next steps. The council then invited them to a larger chamber, where a gathering of Lumrans awaited. These were teachers, guides, and representatives from many communities across Lumra. Each one observed Daniel and Ceres closely, sensing the harmony that flowed between them. Daniel and Ceres moved to the center of the gathering. Daniel took a deep breath and began to speak, sharing his experiences, the lessons he had learned, and the importance of patience, respect, and trust. Ceres translated these ideas into subtle energy patterns, demonstrating how their bond had created harmony rather than conflict. The audience listened intently. Lumrans were familiar with strong energy connections, but Daniel's ability to maintain balance and respond with awareness impressed them deeply. They began to understand that humans were capable of more than they had imagined. One of the Lumran guides approached. Daniel, they said softly, your example gives us hope. Many humans would have failed. But your patience, respect, and care have shown us that cooperation is possible. We will use your lessons to guide others. Daniel smiled. That is all I hope for. That others will learn to approach your world with care and understanding. Ceres stepped forward, her aura shimmering with approval. Humans can create harmony, she said. But it is not only about learning our ways. It is about listening, observing, and moving with awareness. Daniel demonstrated that beautifully. The Lumrans in the gathering began to murmur among themselves, their energy patterns shifting with curiosity and approval. A new sense of possibility spread across the chamber. Humans and Lumrans could work together, not as separate species, but as partners, sharing knowledge and understanding. Daniel realized that their bond had created more than a personal connection. It had created a path for cooperation that was unprecedented. He felt proud, not for himself, but for what it meant for the future. The eldest council member spoke again. Daniel, Ceres, we will record your experiences. Your bond will serve as a model for future interactions. Humans will be invited to engage with Lumrans under guidance, using patience, respect, and trust as their foundation. This is a new era of cooperation. Daniel bowed respectfully. I am honored to contribute. And I hope that the lessons we have learned together will guide many more to understand your world. Ceres's gaze met his. Daniel, she said softly, we have done something important. But it is only the beginning. Together, we will guide others, and together, we will explore the possibilities of harmony between our species. The gathering ended with quiet celebration. Lumarans were excited by the potential, but they moved with their usual calm. Daniel felt the energy around him pulse with possibility. This was more than success. This was hope. After the gathering, Daniel and Ceres walked through the gardens once more. The twin moons rose, casting silver reflections across the crystal fields. The air was filled with soft music created by the flora, and the energy currents of the planet flowed gently around them. Ceres turned to him, her gaze steady. "Daniel," she said, "our bond has changed the way humans and Lumarans will interact. That is extraordinary. But it is also responsibility. We must guide the next steps carefully." Daniel nodded. "I understand. And I am ready. Together, we can show others how to build connections without causing harm. We can show that trust, patience, and respect are stronger than fear or haste." Ceres's markings shifted into a soft golden pattern, signaling pride and approval. "That is why I trust you, Daniel. We can create something meaningful together." They walked in silence for a while, each aware of the energy flowing between them. The bond they shared had been tested, proven, and recognized. It was no longer just personal, it was a symbol of what could be achieved when two species moved with understanding and care. As the night deepened, Daniel felt a sense of fulfillment. The council had recognized the significance of their bond. Lumarans had seen the potential of human cooperation. And he and Ceres had created a bridge that could guide future generations. He looked at Ceres. "We have done something important," he said softly. "Together, we have shown that humans can connect with your world. That is more than I imagined." Ceres nodded. "And it is only the beginning. Together, we will guide what comes next." The moons reflected in the crystal gardens, and the energy of Lumara flowed quietly, embracing them both. Daniel understood that their journey was far from over, but the foundation had been laid. Trust, harmony, and respect would guide the future. For the first time, Daniel felt a sense of true partnership, not just with Ceres, but with an entire world. Humans could learn, grow, and harmonize with other life. They could contribute to a future where understanding and cooperation mattered more than conflict or fear. Ceres reached out gently, her hand close but not intrusive. Daniel matched her movement, feeling the energy flow once more. Together, they had demonstrated what was possible. Together, they would guide the next era. Under the twin moons of Lumara, Daniel and Ceres stood side by side. Their bond was not just a connection of hearts, but a bridge between species. The council, the Lumaran people, and even humans on distant worlds would remember this moment. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter of understanding, trust, and hope. And as the stars shone above, Lumara seemed to pulse with quiet approval, recognizing that something extraordinary had begun. Daniel smiled, his heart steady and full of purpose. Together, they had created a path that would inspire many. Together, they had begun a new era of harmony, showing that humans could rise to meet challenges with wisdom, patience, and care. And under the silver light of the twin moons, both human and Lumaran knew that the future was bright.